Hello, I'm Mrs. Charity. Welcome to the Glorious Heritage Overview of Catholic Church History. Discover the amazing story of the Church together as a family as you color and paste your way through the timeline and printables, which you can find on our website. And now, let's move into our topic for today.
Hello, I'm Mr. Charity. Welcome to the Glorious Heritage Catholic History video series. If you look on your timeline and summary question sheets, you'll notice that we are in the white time period, which we have named Foundation. If you don't have a timeline or summary question sheets, you can find them on our website. Did the first Christians have to follow all the rules from the Old Testament? The Council of Jerusalem answered this question. To understand what happened at this council, we need to discuss three main topics: the Mosaic Law, St. Paul's mission, and the decision of the apostles. The Mosaic Law was the set of rules that God gave to the Israelites in the Old Testament. It included the 10 Commandments, which God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai, and many other laws that Moses wrote down for the people. These laws covered various aspects of life, such as what to eat, how to dress, how to pray, and when to work. One of the most important laws was circumcision, which God first commanded to Abraham. Circumcision was a sign of belonging to God's people, and any man who was not circumcised was excluded from being part of God's people. The Mosaic Law was a very strict and demanding law, but it was also a way of showing obedience and love to God. When our Lord founded the Catholic Church, He gave it the authority to speak and act in His name. After our Lord ascended into heaven, the first Pope, St. Peter, had the authority to make decisions for the Church in God's name. And this brings us to our second point. After Pentecost, the apostles began to preach and to baptize. The apostles spread out across the ancient world in order to bring the Catholic faith and sacraments to everyone. St. Paul was one of the most famous of the apostles because he traveled and preached very much. He is known as the Apostle to the Gentiles because he brought the Catholic faith and sacraments to many non-Jewish people. A Gentile was someone who did not follow the Mosaic Law and therefore was considered an outsider by the Jews. The big question was this: did the Gentiles have to follow the Mosaic Law in order to be Christians? Did they have to be circumcised as Moses commanded? Or did they only have to follow the teachings of Christ, who fulfilled the law? Some of the early Christian leaders argued that the Gentiles must obey the Mosaic Law, while others said that they did not have to. And this brings us to our third and final topic: the decision of the apostles. To resolve this issue, the apostles and other church leaders gathered in Jerusalem for a meeting. This was the very first church council, and it is called the Council of Jerusalem. A church council is when the bishops and usually the Pope meet together to make an important decision for the church. The Pope has the final authority, and his decision must be accepted by all. At the Council of Jerusalem, St. Peter, along with the others, decided that the Gentiles did not have to follow the Mosaic Law in order to be part of the Catholic Church. They did not have to be circumcised or follow most of the other laws. They only had to follow a few basic rules and the 10 Commandments. This was a great relief to the Gentiles because it made it much easier for them to join the Church and follow Christ. Now, Mrs. Charity will tell you a story from the Old Testament in which a hero decided that it was better to die than to break the law of Moses.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Charity. I'm going to tell you about the Law of Moses and why it was so important for the Jews in the Old Testament. The Law of Moses was a set of rules that God gave to His people through Moses. One of these rules was that they were not allowed to eat pork or any meat from a pig. That means no bacon, no ham, no sausage, and no pork chops. Can you imagine that? There is a famous story in the last book of the Old Testament where some wicked men tried to force a faithful old Jewish man named Eleazar to eat pork. They said they would kill him if he didn't. But Eleazar refused to break God's law, even if it meant dying. He was very brave and loyal to God. The law of Moses was very serious and sacred for the Jews.
So you see that in the Old Testament it was forbidden to eat pork. Now let me tell you a story about St. Peter. First, let me tell you the story, and then I'll read it to you from the Bible. One day, St. Peter was praying on a rooftop. He was far away from Jerusalem in the land of the Gentiles. Remember that St. Peter was a Jewish man his whole life, and he followed the law of Moses. He did not eat pork, nor any other kind of forbidden meat. Anyway, while he was praying, God showed him an amazing vision. St. Peter saw a giant sheet being lowered down from the sky by its corners. In the sheet were all kinds of different animals. God told St. Peter that he could eat of all the animals from now on. God told St. Peter he did not have to follow the law of Moses anymore. And God showed this vision to St. Peter 3 times. Okay, now that you know the story, let me read it to you from the Bible. It comes from the New Testament book called the Acts of the Apostles. Peter went up to the higher parts of the house to pray about the 6th hour, and being hungry, he was desirous to taste somewhat. And as they were preparing, there came upon him an ecstasy of mind. And he saw the heaven opened, and a certain vessel descending, as it were, a great linen sheet, let down by the 4 corners from heaven to the earth, wherein were all manner of 4-footed beasts and creeping things of the earth, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Arise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Far be it from me, for I never did eat anything that is common and unclean. And the voice spoke to him again a second time, That which God hath cleansed, do not thou call common. And this was done thrice, and presently the vessel was taken up into heaven. So we learned today 3 things. We learned about the Mosaic Law, we learned about the church's mission to preach to the Gentiles, and then we learned about the Council of Jerusalem, which decided that the Gentiles did not have to follow the Mosaic Law to be Christians. Make sure to join us for our next video, in which we talk about the missions of St. Paul. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new today. Visit our website www.gloriousheritagecartoons.com, where you can find more educational supplements, cartoons, books, and printables. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram to get notified of our latest updates and videos. And if you like our work and want to support us, you can make a donation on our website or on Patreon. We really appreciate your generosity and kindness. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, and see you next time.